you guys doing today? Both of y'all playing?
Yes. Cool.
10 apiece is going to be 20 altogether, y'all.
I mentioned that we had a pinball museum, and he said, what in the world would that be like?
Jet bumpers. Have you tried World Tour yet? Right here, the red one. It's setting you up for a multi-ball. John French. Raise one hand if you know somebody who's French, raise two if you are. So I ended up with a lot of old Gottlieb wood rail pinball machines and old Bali machines as a kid. That's from getting hit right here. I ended up getting one really young, and it had a whole bunch of wires and solenoids and stuff in it, and I started tearing them apart. Pushes the ball up into the playfield. I grew up in Boulder, Colorado, and there was a arcade down there, and I got to know the owner, and he'd let me work on the machines. I'd get free pizza and all the games I could play. I always did it for the joy of playing, fixing, and I'm weird.
I did something right.
So my son, he grew up thinking that everybody had them, that it was normal.
We had a little video arcade in my basement growing up.
When the kids were little, we had a very full basement.
All my friends had thought it was pretty cool, having a full video arcade down there.
I love playing video games. I love computers. I love pinball machines.
It's been his lifelong game. They're his crossword puzzles.
These are my Sudoku or crossword puzzles. A lot of the old ones. When I get them, they don't have any schematics or paperwork or anything with them anymore. Because they've been passed from one location to another so often. Everything gets lost because it's been decapitated. The cap is supposed to be sitting up there.
There's nothing he can't fix.
This is a puzzle.
Does machines a lot better than he does people most of the time.
Yeah, I had a few big boy jobs. I worked at NASA. I worked on Space Station Freedom.
He used to do factory work. He made the machines for the factories.
It's automated systems for the beverage industry, for picking, placing, palletizing. Basically, great big vending machines.
He was always looking for something to fidget with. From what I understand, he's been doing this since he was a kid.
Well, I spent a lot of time on the road, so I'd get a pinball machine, get one off of Craigslist or whatever, and I'd take it back to the hotel. They call me Pinball Wizard not for my ability to play them, but my ability to repair them. That's what I did in my spare time, is fix things. Why? Because apparently I couldn't fix enough at work.
John traveled, 70% of the time.
Too much time on the road.
The idea of him being able to be home and back with the family was exciting.
And so I gave my notice and said I'm going to work at the Appalachian Pinball Museum.
I think it's a lot of fun.
And they said, the Asheville Pinball Museum? No, the Appalachian Pinball Museum. We're all the same company, we all tend to the same account.
Yeah, this actually happens to be one of my very favorites.
Just an expansion of the Asheville Museum.
We close at 9 o'clock tonight.
My third time here.
There's not a lot of people that can fix the 1940s, 1950s, early 70s machines.
They got to see what Grandma and Grandpa played when they were their ages.
It's awesome.
It's heartwarming to see somebody walk through the door and they see the lights, they see the play fields, they see the games, and they just kind of go, wow.
There's not a screen in front of you.
That's what I want.
Actually happening in real life.
When the ball stops like that, usually it's asking you a question, okay?
Okay. This is what he's always wanted to do.
That's almost as good as fixing a machine, to have somebody come in and just go, whoa, and some little kid go, wow.
It was either this or Disneyland, I think.
There's a lot of different games on here, and some of them require more than one button. I wake up in the morning and I go to work and I do what I want, and I come home and then I have to go to work and mow the lawn or something, because this isn't working.
As the sun rises over New Orleans and the city comes to life,
welcome to your museum. It's a pleasure to have you today.
This day belongs to George Soros.
Absolutely. Great to see you, boss.
The World War II veteran seeing the National Museum that honors his contributions for the first time.
I'm wondering how they ever got that up there.
Taking it all in.
Gee.
This is a return trip to New Orleans for George Soros. The first time looked a lot different.
The town is just mushroom, and it's beautiful. There's a lot of LCIs. Look at all of them. When I got my ship, was down in New Orleans, and I remember when I got off the ship to go to the PX set, One of my buddies was coming down the street. I didn't know who he was. When I saw him, it was a young man that I went to grade school with, Frankie Safrazo.
I was a merchant marine during the Second World War.
This trip is part of the Soaring Valor program through the Gary Sinise Foundation, a program that has brought more than 1,100 World War II veterans and their guardians to the Big Easy.
There was 2 battle wagons there, and we were right over by the side of them. They were pounding the beach.
These living librarians taking on the not always easy task of reflecting on their time served.
And a lot of my buddies are gone. Now, there's very few of us left, but we had we really loved each other.
And this is where George's Beach was.
Saros, a U.S. Navy motor machinist, served on an LST, or a landing ship tank, during the D-Day invasion. He landed in Normandy, ferrying military members and supplies more than 50 times across the English Channel. One of the exhibits spurred a memory from one of those trips.
When we landed and we unloaded, we were on the top deck, and a German fighter plane was coming down to strafe us. Before we knew it, there was a P-47 right on his tail, and he got him. And then I looked over, and then one of our big bombers, the wing was gone, and we were yelling, "Bail, bail, bail," and they did.
Now in his 90s, the significance of this trip and what this museum means doesn't go unnoticed.
It is priceless. And what it makes it so priceless is we want to leave it for our young generation to know what the country went through to preserve our freedom and our liberty.
He plans on doing his part by sharing his story, just one puzzle piece of the big picture that has made this nation what it is.
It's beautiful. I really enjoyed it.
In New Orleans, Justin Hinton, News 13.
All military fields, all combat fields are open to women. That was a long struggle.
Gina Donnells, she re-enlisted 4 times.
We have come an incredible way.
This is Heidi Hayden, U.S. Marine Corps.
They needed more nurses, said they started the Cadet Nurse Corps, and I became part of that.
We have a lot of women veterans that come through the museum here, and I just say, you know, it's about time we do something special for our women in the military.
When you get over to Korea, when I was stationed there July 9th of 1999.
I went into basic training February of 45.
So I joined the Navy in 1979. I served for 30 years. Great to see.
Perfect.
Great to see all those photos. Wow.
We're showing everybody that we can do more than just being nurses. I've also been a communications officer. I've been civil affairs and medical logistics.
Head nurse on one of the wards that our own POWs that had been over in Guadalcanal, they were coming back home.
So I had all Navy communications from North Dakota to Bahrain.
There we go.
Now is a great time for this exhibit.
My daughter was a graduate of West Point. She did a year in Afghanistan. As a parent, it was the weirdest thing when I was at Fort Campbell watching my daughter head off to war. I'm not going to deny it. I had some tears in my eyes.
Now is actually a wonderful time to sort of look back and say, well, how did we get here?
We're finally getting, the things that we're deserving.
I am glad if I could open up people's eyes to the value that women had.
Women are a major part of our military at this point.
The role of women has, I think often been minimized. It's been overlooked. And I think it's important to sort of look back and say, how did they really contribute?
And acknowledging the fact that women do have a place and they are important and have a role to play.